And hello. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much. All right, I do, as usual, I have some stuff I want to share with you, but please, if you would, I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit that share button for me. Thank you so much. My name is Will Johnson. My website is uniteamericafirst.com. I want to thank all of you for joining me this evening. And we're going to talk about a couple things here. But the first thing that I want to talk about tonight is, of course, Nancy Pelosi. You know, last night I was talking about what happens if she lands in Taiwan. What is China going to do? What will we see? What will happen? What happens by the end of this week? You know, and those questions are still up in the air, right? Because last we heard, Nancy Pelosi has landed. So my question is exactly, what is China going to do? What are they going to do? China, they are the ones who put the threat out there. So my question is exactly, what are they going to do? We all want to see, right now, not everybody, but there's a lot of people sitting on the edge of their seat wondering what China's going to do. What's going to happen? Right? So with that said, let me share something with you. Apparently, I didn't know you could do this. And it's kind of like, if you ask me, it's kind of like a security risk, right? But they were able to track Nancy Pelosi's plane when she was flying to Taiwan. They were able to track her plane. And this is a screenshot from it. And you can see there, right there with the purple. I can make it bigger there. You can see right there, that's Nancy Pelosi's plane right there, going to Taiwan. Well, what ended up happening is that the service that allows this to be seen so they can track all the planes, it was open to the public. Everybody could watch it. And they said there was over 300,000 people tuned in watching her plane fly, because they were going off of what the Chinese president said and what the other Chinese representatives said, that they're going to shoot the plane down if she decides to go. Well, they didn't do that. They didn't shoot the plane down, but they had over 300,000 people watching this to see if the plane was going to actually go down, because they were tracking and see if it was going to beep and disappear. You know, it crashed their service. It crashed the service. There was so many people in there watching it crashed the service. So, of course, I want to share something with you, and this is a little bit lengthy, okay? Not too much. I'll probably end up stopping it, but I want to share something with you where they're actually talking about this, and this was on Fox News. They're actually talking about Nancy Pelosi landing, and they're showing her landing. Was it at nighttime, showing her land, and they're talking about, what do you think China's going to do? And the question is still up. What is China going to do? My producer and many people have been looking all day, looking for the news, like what's going to happen. Personally, on a personal note, if China does anything, if you ask me, I think China will do something once Nancy Pelosi leaves, because they're already, they've already had ships out in the sea, and I'm talking about China. They've already had planes flying, and now there's video footage coming out showing China actually mobilizing on the southern coast of China that's close to Taiwan. So personally, like I said, I think they're going to wait until she leaves, but we will see. Listen to this.
Just ahead of her official visit there, as she lands on the ground there, threatens serious military consequences. So how do you fathom they respond now that she has touched down? Couldn't you envision them doing nothing?
Yeah, I mean, that's, they kind of wrote a check that we'll see whether their military is going to cash it. Will their rhetoric, this bombastic, very dangerous, menacing rhetoric, potentially match some military action they might take? They threatened the United States that such a visit would be playing with fire. If China does absolutely nothing, then that would risk some damage to their credibility, which would.
You know what? And that's what I was saying last night. If they don't do anything, it's going to make them look weak to the world, because they already put the message out. They already put the memo out. If she goes, and the president, she already told Biden to his face via Zoom, however they do it, that don't play with fire. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? I mean, this is like, and also they don't want to, she doesn't want to look weak because there's elections. I didn't know they had elections in China. I thought they just ruled, the leader ruled. But apparently they have elections there, and he doesn't want to look weak. So this is going to make him look completely weak if he doesn't do anything.
Be good for us. But this sort of an interaction between two superpowers, not good, and really risks great miscalculations, especially dangerous when we have the Speaker of the House in Taipei right now. So again, I think that we're probably seeing some back-channel discussions between the United States and the Chinese. If nothing occurs, nothing untoward from the Chinese side, you may see some dialogue, open dialogue, and some commentary from the United States appreciating Chinese restraint, perhaps. But this is a tenuous time right now, and it's certainly, with Speaker of the House Pelosi potentially staying overnight in Taipei, there's a number of hours for us to be tracking this.
Mm-hmm. Michael Pillsbury joins our conversation, too. Michael, thanks for coming back here. Just to draft off of Dan Hoffman's answer there, how much of this do you believe is propaganda versus how much of it is a legitimate threat out of Beijing?
You know what? And that's one of the things a lot of people have been saying. I've seen so many people on social media saying that all this is propaganda. Joe Brandon is working with China to do all this, to undermine America, to have everyone believe that we're possibly getting ready to go to war with China. I've seen so many people saying that, but the way I showed it to you last night, it's not even the way I showed it to you. The information that I relayed to you last night, everyone's asking, why would they do this? Why is China even coming out saying that the United States of America will regret it? So it's like they want us to think that everything is fine. This is my personal opinion. They want us to think everything is fine. Maybe they'll end up doing sanctions against the United States of America. Maybe they'll cut off all of the goods that they ship to us, because apparently we get more goods than a lot of Americans even aware of. Drugs that we need, we get that from China. And if they cut all of that off, that's going to end up hurting the American people. Certain drugs that people depend on come from China, because the American government has put us in this position, and they've done it a long time ago. But maybe now it's just getting ready to come to a head.
Well, I like Dan's emphasis on intelligence collection while Nancy Pelosi is in Taiwan. I think this is much more of a real threat than propaganda. The background, of course, is Xi Jinping wants a third term, another 5-year term, to go against the old tradition that Deng Xiaoping started, that you only served 10 years, that's it, you're out. So anything like a crisis and a need to respond to the Americans and start a series, maybe even a month or two of harassment of Taiwan, all that feeds into Xi Jinping's argument that you need me for 5 more years. He's 70 years old, roughly, so that's age 75. I see this in terms of how Americans perceive China as a second issue. We still have a lot of Americans, I'd say as many as a third, including in the Congress, in the executive branch, who basically still love China. They have wishful thinking. They have fond hopes. U.S. and China can kind of rule the world together, fight climate change. So when this kind of military crisis begins to emerge, it puts pressure on what the Chinese call the friends of China in Washington, D.C., or those who work for China, sometimes they say, in Washington, D.C. Puts pressure on them. How can you continue our $1 trillion of investment in Chinese companies? How can you support exchange programs with the Chinese military? It questions all these things, and there's a lot of legislation bill in the Congress now that Nancy Pelosi has spurned. She has not worked with the Republicans. I think when she comes home from this trip, she may be more bipartisan in her approach toward China policy for the long term. That's my wish. Something good will come out of this crisis.
I don't buy that last statement. I don't think she's going to come back and be bipartisan. If anything, she's going to want to implement more of what China's been doing, right? And the reason why I say that is because they want this credit score, or not credit score, but this social score. Y'all have heard about that, right? I'm pretty sure everyone's heard about that. They want to go based on your social score, meaning what you've done on social media, what you said, your actions, what you support, and they want to use that for you or against you. And people like me, they're going to use it against me because I want to put America first. Like last night, I mentioned that I'm a nationalist, and I have no qualms about saying that, because there's nothing wrong with being that. The left are trying to make it all, being bad if you want to be a nationalist. But this was happening here. This is could cause major problems. Major problems. And the only reason why I say that, because China has already put the threat out there. So if China doesn't do anything, no one's going to take them serious. This is the same thing. Remember, they did the same thing with Putin, with Ukraine. And they decided, if Putin doesn't do anything after Kamala Harris, no one's going to take him serious. So this is the same scenario. I'm telling you, I'm willing to bet that Nancy Pelosi, when she leaves, that's when we're going to see China kick in. My personal opinion. I could be wrong, but that's my personal opinion.
Interesting analysis, Dan. As we see some deboarding the plane there, there has been mixed messaging from the White House. We all watched the John Kirby press briefing from the White House yesterday in the briefing room ahead of this trip, not confirming the trip, but ensuring her safe travel should she, at her call, decide to make this trip. And at one point, John Kirby asking the question, what's the drama? After you, to your point, we heard this menacing rhetoric coming from China ahead of the Speaker of the House's visit to Taiwan. Michael, you can take that.
Well, it's a dangerous situation when the Speaker of the House and the White House don't seem to be on the same page. I was very impressed when John Kirby admitted yesterday that Biden and Nancy Pelosi have not spoken about this trip. I mean, this is historic, and it's dangerous, and it's important. How could they not have discussed this? The answer, I think, is they don't agree.
So, this, what? When I first heard this, something came to my mind. Let's just say, how is that not a national security issue? Think about this. Nancy Pelosi's traveling to a nation that's close to China. I mean, it's pretty much next door. I don't know how close it is. You might even swim it, right? Probably not. But it's so close that when she's going there, you have another nation threatening the House leader if she shows up that this could be war. Why wouldn't she talk to the person in the White House about it? Why wouldn't they have the discussion? How is that not a national security threat? Something should be done. Right? Think about this. Am I the only one? I can't possibly be the only one to think about this. She's literally wanting to take the United States of America to war with China. That's what it's saying. And she doesn't care. If you ask me, she did all of this because it's about the bottom dollar. Let me remind everyone right now, Nancy Pelosi's husband did $5 million in the semiconductor chip program that the United States of America just passed. Then all of a sudden she's making this trip to Taiwan where they were making all of these semiconductor chips for us. You can't make this stuff up. What are the odds that she's going to go right after it was passed in the Senate? Now it's a done deal. Her husband became that much more richer. I mean, filthy rich. $5 million with a deal that's with hundreds of billions of dollars. He came out nice. So, of course, she's going to go over there. She wants to go check out her investment.
Nancy Pelosi has a long history of concern about human rights, the Dalai Lama. She's very skeptical about China.
I think we're seeing the Speaker coming off the plane now.
Yep, so now she gets off the airplane, and and then they show there's other footage out there where it's showing her getting bused, and she goes into a building and she goes to different places, and I guess she's spending the night. And like I told everybody, my personal opinion, I think they're not going to do anything until she leaves. And I want to show you something here. This is videos coming out of China, to my understanding, where people are watching all of these military tanks coming and mounting up. And this is off the coast, not far from Taiwan. And people are just watching them take place, watching it go by. And these are people all lined up. This is what's being reported. This is video that's coming out. Now, I can't, obviously I can't read the writing on the wall there, or I would, but they're showing that these are military personnel all mounting up right now. They're all traveling, get ready to go to Taiwan. This is what they're reporting. This is what they're telling us. Now, I can't confirm this, but if it is true, if this is true, if this is them getting ready to go in, it's just like I said. They're going to do this soon as Nancy Pelosi lifts off from Taiwan. I would say minutes later that they're going to go in. I mean, look at that. Yeah, you can't even see the end of the line of the tanks, right? You can't even see the end of it. And again, just like Ukraine, I don't think that they're going to wait. I don't think they're going to wait another year, 2 years. I think it's possibly going to end up coming and happening within the next few days, as soon as she leaves. And I could be wrong. I want to be wrong. You know what? We don't need another war. We're already at war with Russia via the proxy of Ukraine. We don't need another one. You seen what this liberal federal government has done to the military. There's Navy SEALs. Y'all ever watch this show called The SEAL Team? Y'all ever watch movies with Navy SEALs? I mean, these are some really tough dudes. They get in it. They get in the thick of it. The best in the world. And because of this liberal federal government, a lot of them have been fired. So we don't have these strong men in the Navy SEALs like we used to, because they got rid of a lot of them. This liberal federal government did this on purpose to weaken all of us. And like I said before, y'all need to prepare. You need to get ready. And you know what? Even let's just say nothing happens and you did all this stuff to get ready. Well, good for you. Let's say all this stuff does happen and you didn't get ready. Think about it. If you get ready, you'll just be ready. At least be ready. And you know what? There's no way that we'll be prepared for all of it. There's no way, because we don't know what the future holds. I don't think we've ever been in this position since World War II, right? And I was talking to a couple of gentlemen, and they brought up the fact that before World War II kicked off, or at least before the United States of America got completely involved in World War II, there was proxy wars going on everywhere. There's a proxy war here, a proxy war there, and it's like the same thing. It's like we're repeating the exact same thing again now. It's like they're playing out of the same playbook. So what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen? And this is all brand new to me. This is all brand new to everybody else, because we don't know what to expect. Why in the world did Nancy Pelosi have to do this? Why is she not communicating with Joe Brandon? How is that not a national security issue? Maybe she's saying, hey, look, Joe, your boy Hunter has a whole bunch of dealers in China. You can't tell me what to do. And they're really good right now to talk about the third branch of the government, the federal government, right? The three branches of the federal government. And Nancy Pelosi, because she's even mentioned before, Nancy Pelosi said that she is equal to President Trump. Do y'all remember that? When President Trump was in office, she said she's equal to President Trump. Meaning President Trump can't do anything without her say so. Think about that. But they disregard the Supreme Court, which is one of the third branches of Congress, or not Congress, but our federal government. Let me change it up here, because I could go on and on about what Nancy Pelosi's doing. We're all sitting on the edge of our seat for the most part. I'm not sitting on the edge of my seat right now. I'm sitting all the way in the seat, but you understand what I'm saying. Everyone is like paying attention, wondering what's going to happen. People are constantly looking at the news now. What's China doing? What's China doing? They're waiting to see what's going to happen. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe they won't do anything after Nancy Pelosi leaves. Maybe this China's just doing all this talk. Maybe they don't have what it takes to keep the word, to keep their word. Maybe they don't. Let me share something with you that's not related to Nancy Pelosi, but it's related to what's happening in America. For those of you that can't see me and listening to the audio right now, because we're live on the audio right now, we're live audio podcast. And I encourage everyone, go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, and you can sign up for my podcast there. You can sign up for the podcast there and listen to the podcast live when I go live every night, or you can download the podcast and listen to it at your convenience and share it with other people. And at the same time, go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, and sign up for the newsletter. You sign up for the newsletter, the podcast is in there. That's really easy. Sign up for the newsletter and you automatically get the podcast and you can subscribe to it. No matter how you listen to podcasts, it is there. Spotify, Apple, Android, no matter how you listen to it, it is there. All right, let me share this with you. Have y'all seen this? This is completely disgusting and 100% repulsive. I am a black man. Like I said, for those of you that can't see me right now, never seen me before, I'm a black male, have dreadlocks. I consider myself black male, just plain and simple. But I'm a Christian first American, okay, that loves my freedom. And I put American first. I put America before my color. My color is irrelevant to all of this. My color doesn't even matter. But I'm just saying this for people who don't see. Oh, should I do my pronouns like Kamala Harris did? Should I do that? It's irrelevant. Okay. But the only reason why I gave a brief description on that is because of what this demonic person says, this demonic male, what he says. He's literally playing the part of black people, what they used to do on the Democrat plantation when black people escaped the Democrat plantation. When black people would leave the Democrat plantation, they would send other black people out there to retrieve them and bring them back. Did you know that? It wasn't white. It wasn't, you know how on the southern border when they showed the border patrol and they had the border patrol and they were using the reins and they were hitting the horses and not whipping the black people that were running around, the Haitians. They all have in their mind that it's white man on the horse chasing after black people. When slavery was happening, it was other black men that would go out and they would use black men like dogs and go and chase other black men and retrieve them. That's exactly what he is. Listen to what he says, because instead of him trying to uplift other black people or just people in general, in this case, black people for, achieving something, he wants to treat them like an animal. He wants to talk down about them. Listen to this.
Be a close election in Georgia because Walker has the backing of the Republicans.
And he's talking about Herschel Walker in the state of Georgia, right? If you hadn't picked that up. And yes, they do have the backing, and even President Trump is backing him. See, that's where his problem comes in, because President Trump is supporting him. Herschel Walker, listen.
Now you ask, why are Republicans backing this man who's so clearly unintelligent, who so clearly doesn't have independent thoughts? But
really? And here it is. He's doing exactly what the Democrats want him to do. The same thing that black Democrats have done in the past with black people. And he's talking about Herschel Walker doesn't have any free thoughts.
But that's actually the reason. Walker's going to do what he's told. And that's what Republicans like. That's what Republicans want from their
inward. He said, and I had to take that part out because I don't want them to come back and saying that I'm putting a foul language in it, because they'll do it. Even though he didn't say the ER, he said the RO. He said the roll. Okay, the RO. He didn't say the ER, right? He said the other one, but even though they would still penalize me for playing it, so I took it out. So listen, listen what he says.
And that's what Republicans like. That's what Republicans want from their to do what they're told. And Walker presents exactly as a person who lacks independent thoughts, lacks an independent agenda, lacks an independent ability to grasp policies.
Really? How degrading can you be? And let me ask you a question. When you see people that's trying to better themselves and trying to achieve something, and they run for political office, is this, I guess when it comes to politics, they're completely always nasty. But he's literally trying to say that black people that support the Republican Party, when the Republican Party was originally created so that black people can have representation, and there was never a switch. I get so tired of hearing that. There was never a switch. There wasn't a switch. And they try to convince us that there were. There wasn't a switch. I say this all the time, the only switch that took place was the tactics of the Democrat Party. That's the only thing that took place. But this is what the Democrats constantly do. Have you ever seen a Republican that's black, that's running for political office, denigrate or talk down or just completely nasty like that about their opponent and when their opponent is black? Have you ever seen that? No. You only get that from the Democrat left. That's the only place it comes from. You don't get it anywhere else. So if there's any trolls out there right now, answer this question. Why is it only the Democrats that talk bad about other people like that? Why is that the case? You constantly say that President Trump was racist, but you just mouth it off because you're a mouth breather, but you don't actually have any proof of it. You take words and you mix them up and you try to change the definition. The same way y'all done with everything else. They try to change the definition on everything. And that's what it is. And it came to light when it came to the recession. Let me talk about another story. This one's out of Florida. Ron DeSantis. And, the Democrats, they're all, just last week, all the Democrats were saying no one finds President Trump interesting. This is what the Democrats are saying. But they find Ron DeSantis interesting. And they're telling all of us that only Republicans find Ron DeSantis interesting and not Donald Trump any longer. Right? But that's not true. And now all of a sudden they come out and now they're hating Ron DeSantis all over again. Not that they stop hating him, but they're really hating him. Listen, I want you to listen to why they're hating him now, and then I'm going to talk about it. Listen.
There was a video out of Dallas where they had all these young kids putting money in the underwear of these drag queens at a bar, and that's totally unacceptable. And I said that at the time. Then what happened was a week or two later, there was video from a place that had similar stuff, and then that was identified as being in Florida. So we said, wait a minute, having kids involved in this is wrong. That is not consistent with our law and policy in the state of Florida, and it is a disturbing trend in our society to try to sexualize these young people. That is not the way you look out for our children. You protect children. You do not expose them to things that are inappropriate. So they had this video, and it's identified in Miami. So it's Department of Business and Professional Regulation. They started an investigation. They actually had agents going to this place and conducting effectively just gathering information, getting intelligence, seeing what's going on. And what they found was not only were there minors there for some of these, and these are sexually explicit drag shows, they actually had the bar had a children's menu on their food service. And you think to yourself, give me a break, what's going on? So they looked under Florida law and were able to initiate this procedure that would basically, take away the liquor license for that, and that basically ends the story. So they gathered the evidence, they moved. It doesn't mean that there may be more, and if there's evidence of that, the agencies in Florida are going to respond. I mean, we take the well-being of children very seriously. We want to make sure that we have a state and we have communities where kids can be kids.
Where kids can be kids. So, of course, the left, they're all coming out and saying, well, he wanted parents to be able to say what they're being taught in schools, right? He wants parents to be able to have a say-so there, but he doesn't want parents to have a say-so taking them to a dragon queen event. And it's completely, totally different. Right? In schools, and you know what? And when they were taking them to the schools, they want to sexualize the kids in schools. And they say, okay, well, since you're not allowing us to sexualize the kids in schools, we'll take them to these bars with alcohol. And these bars have become strip clubs. Right? It's one thing if it's just like a sports bar, right? But these bars have converted to strip clubs because when they dragging queens are going up and down the aisle and having kids put dollars in their G-straps, you can see all of their junk. They're exposing kids to their junk. So that's not appropriate. And there is such a thing called child abuse. Just because they're not physically harming these kids doesn't mean this is not child abuse. This is a demonic world we live in, and you have all these parents going out there saying, well, I should be able to take my child and have him look at a man with his schlong hanging all out. That's what they're saying. They should be able to do that. Schlong is all hanging out, and the kids should be able to see it. And even go up and touch it. This is a sick world. And if we don't stand up for our children in this nation, then we don't have nothing to stand up for. There's nothing to stand up for. Your freedoms, if we can't stand up for our children, then the heck with our freedoms. You understand what I'm telling you? Because with that, if we don't do right by our children, we won't have freedoms later on. Because these people want to indoctrinate children. They're sexualizing kids to the point to when they grow up and they become adults, they're going to want to excommunicate us. They're going to put us in camps because we don't want to go along with this demonicness. And that is the goal of Satan. Satan is pushing all this stuff, and these parents are going right along with it, thinking that it's wonderful. As a parent, as a grandparent, can you wrap your mind around why you would want to take your child, your grandchild, even, to one of these events where a grown man prancing around like a woman showing his junk to your child? No, I didn't think so. But there's some sick people out there. Let me tell you about this one. You heard today they passed the veteran bill, right? It's actually called the burn pit bill. Have y'all heard about that? And it's pretty bad, actually. And, you know, some people was asking me, Will, why do we not want to go along with the burn pit bill? Well, the reason why we don't want to go along with it because the Democrats, they tacked on a $400 billion spending spree to it. Like they can just spend whatever it is that they want to spend on it. And it's not going to go to the vets. And what happened today, because they passed it, because they put so much out in the media, they got so many people to talk about it. A lot of Republicans went ahead and did it because, hey, it's election year and I don't want them to bring it up saying, hey, you didn't support the vets. But they didn't even have the information themselves. How did Will Johnson get the information? It's like people not paying attention. And these Republicans bending over again for these Democrats, giving them exactly what they want. And what do you think that's going to do to inflation? What do you think that's going to do? I want to show you something. I went to the grocery store today, just one particular grocery store, and I was in there and I was going to get some chicken wings, you know, because I like to grill the chicken wings, grill them. I can't eat fried foods, so I'll grill them, right? But I was going in there and I'm looking at the prices. The price for everything has just gone through the roof, and you hear the Biden administration trying to convince all of us that everything is better. It's not. But let me show you this first. Look at this.
What do you say to those who find it impossible to believe that of all the multi-trillions of dollars in our federal budget, this is where you and Republicans decided to take a stand?
Here's what you need to keep in mind, Jake. First of all, this is the oldest trick in Washington. People take a sympathetic group of Americans, and it could be children with an illness, it could be victims of crime, it could be veterans who've been exposed to toxic chemicals, craft a bill to address their problems, and then sneak in something completely unrelated that they know could never pass on its own and dare Republicans to do anything about it because they know they'll unleash their allies in the media and maybe a pseudo-celebrity to make up false accusations to try to get us to just swallow what shouldn't be there.
And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And they got some Republicans to just jump right into it. 100% exactly what they did.
To be very clear, Republicans are not opposed to any of the substance of the PACT Act. My honest Democratic colleagues will fully acknowledge that my objection, and if I get my way, I get my change, it will not change by 1 penny any spending on any veterans program. What I'm trying to do is change a government accounting methodology that is designed to allow our Democratic colleagues to go on an unrelated $400 billion spending spree that has nothing to do with veterans and that won't be in the veteran space. So that's what I'm trying to do. They could have agreed to this a month ago, and this bill would sail through at any point in time. Look, we can resolve this with an amendment vote.
Right.
But some of the Democrats don't even want to have an amendment vote.
Well, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says that he is willing to give you a vote on your amendment. And I guess the question I have is, if you get that vote, a vote on your amendment, will you agree to vote for cloture, which for our viewers, that's allowing the bill to come to the floor? In other words, we don't expect Senator Toomey will vote for this bill, but will you vote to allow a vote on the bill?
Oh, well, first of all, let's be clear. If my amendment passes and we strip out this completely unrelated provision worth $400 billion, I will vote for the bill. So that's number one. Look, cloture is not blocking the bill. What the cloture vote means, there can be no more amendment votes. I might have some colleagues who have a couple of amendments. We've been allowed no amendment votes on the biggest change to the VA in I don't know how long. So I think we ought to have a few votes. I want to have my amendment considered because I think this is important. We could have done this a month ago, Jake. Now, Chairman Tester, I know he very much wants this bill to pass. I believe he and his staff are working in good faith with us to get to a resolution. But there's some Democrats that simply want to say, no, you don't get to change anything. We don't have any more debate. We don't have amendments. We're just going to jam this through. So that's the source of the tension.
And that's exactly what happened, because they got enough Republicans to give into it. 100%. Okay, so I want to share something with you. So like I said, I went to the grocery store earlier today, and if I can bring it up here. So I went to the grocery store today, and I took a picture of some food products. You know, like I said, I got some chicken wings, and everything is going through the roof. It's costing, everything is costing so much. It's like it's making the devil happy. Right? I mean, everything is like it's ridiculous. So y'all see this? This is a picture that I took, and let me make it full screen here. So I'm gonna zoom in if I can on the price for those of you that can't see it well. But I'm gonna try to zoom in here on the price, and look how can you see the price yet? Let me move it down. I'm gonna move it over. Look at the price. That's how much it is for this chicken. And before, the chicken was, used to be a lot cheaper. It used to be like $3.62. But now look at the price for the chicken. There's the price for the chicken. And they want us to believe that the price of everything is not going up. Right? I'm not trying to make fun of this. It just blew my mind when I saw the price for this chicken. And I'm like, man, how do you afford this? How do you sustain this? And they're trying to convince all of us that gas is going down. Like, the gas prices are a lot better now. Don't worry about it. Everything is going to work out. It's perfectly fine. This is just the new way. This is the way it is. I don't think so. Hey, I want to thank everyone for joining me this evening. I don't know. I haven't been looking. Of course, I don't look. Let me see if there's a few people. I'll say thank you before I bounce out of here. And again, I do have stuff on my website, uniteamericafirst.com. Just go there and go to the sponsor page. There's uniteamericafirst.com. Go to the sponsor page, and you'll see there's a link there that you can do stuff to help prepare for what's possibly going to come. I don't want it to come. I personally think it's going to happen, but let's hope Will Johnson is wrong. And if Will Johnson is right, prepare. And if I'm wrong, you still need to prepare. Don't prepare because I'm telling you. Prepare because you know you need to. Right? Does that make sense? All right. Let me say thank you to Sherry. Thank you so much for the stars, Sherry. And then Nancy, thank you so much as well. Martha, thank you for the stars. Michelle, thank you. Mona, thank you. Kathy, thank you. Wow. John, thank you. These are stars. Kim, thank you. Adam, thank you. And Francis, thank you. Linda, thank you. These are stars again. Tammy, thank you for the stars. Cal, thank you for the stars. And Lisa, thank you so much for the stars. I really do appreciate it. Lori, thank you so much. Laura, thank you so much as well. Peter, for the PayPal. Thank you so much for the PayPal, Peter. And Antoinette, thank you for the Cash App. Thank you so much. And Kevin, thank you so much for the stars. All right, I think that's it. Hey, everybody, thank you again. Hey, do me a favor. If nothing else, can you hit the share button? Can you hit the share button? God bless. See you on the flip side. Reality check.